Today, we wander with St. Isaac Jogues. He lived from 1607 to 1646. His feast day is October 19th, and he's the patron saint of North America. Would you ever consider helping a person who would probably hurt you? Would it ever even cross your mind? Say there are some kids in your neighborhood who have been mean to you for a long time. They've decided that you and your friends don't deserve respect. When you pass them on the street or in school, they always make fun of you. But suppose you've heard something about these kids. You've heard that some of them aren't doing well in school. In fact, they're coming close to flunking math, a subject you're really good at. Would you go to those kids and offer them help? You could, you know. It's not impossible. When we ask, God can give us the strength to do anything, no matter how hard it is. It takes a special, deep kind of courage to go where you're not wanted. It takes a lot of love to help people who've hurt you once and will probably hurt you again. It's the kind of courage St. Isaac Jogues had. It's the kind of love, God's love, that absolutely nothing can defeat. Isaac Jogues was born in France. When he was studying for the priesthood, he heard all about the vast new world across the seas. Many French people, fur trappers, soldiers, adventurers, and priests were going to this new world, especially the most northern part of it, the dark forests, cold rivers and lakes, and icy chill of Canada. People already lived in Canada. They were Native Americans of many different tribes. Some tribes got along well with the French settlers, and others did not. Isaac heard about these native peoples, and he knew at once how much better their lives would be if they knew about Jesus. He decided he would join the company of brave priests who were leaving France to help the natives of Canada. After he arrived, Isaac spent a few years in Montreal, which was just a settlement then. But soon, Isaac had a chance to travel far into the interior of Canada, to places where few Europeans had been. He would travel with a few other Frenchmen and some native guides. They would ride in canoes and walk to the place where the Huron tribes lived. There, Isaac would tell the Hurons about Jesus. It was a hard trip, and it led to a hard life. Many of the Indians were suspicious of Europeans. They thought they were evil spirits. They thought they brought diseases with them on purpose to kill the native people and their crops. But Isaac worked patiently. He taught adults and children. He baptized those who needed it. He tried to help the sick as best he could. Isaac didn't want to cause hurt. He wanted to help. To some of the Indians, Isaac's good intentions didn't matter. The members of the Mohawk tribe were the biggest enemies of the French, and of members of many other native tribes. They were known as fierce warriors who treated prisoners harshly, and they were feared. Father Isaac Jogues found this out for himself. He had traveled to Montreal for supplies and was coming back down the river, back to the Huron people. A group from the Mohawk tribe captured him and his companions. What followed was more than a year of terror and pain. Once they were taken to the Mohawk settlement, Isaac was stripped of his clothes and forced to walk through a double line of villagers who beat him with sticks and rods. They tore off his fingernails and sawed off his left thumb. They also burned him with hot coals. Of course, the other Frenchmen and the Hurons who'd been with him were suffering the same way. They were all being tortured by the Mohawks. The Mohawks kept Isaac as their slave for 13 months. He had some chances to escape, but he refused because the other prisoners needed him. But finally, Isaac decided it was time to leave, and late one night, he escaped from the Mohawks. He found a Dutch trading ship, which took him to the settlement of New York. From there, he found a spot on a ship sailing to England. The sailors on the ship didn't treat him very well, and by the time Isaac reached France, he was so weak and ill that many thought he would die. But he didn't. He spent 6 months recovering in France, and then he made a decision. He decided to go back. He would go back to the very people who had tortured him for months and who had killed many of his friends. It was painfully clear to Isaac that many of the natives, especially the Mohawks, needed the peaceful message of Jesus. Isaac could think of nothing more important to do with the rest of his life. So he returned to Canada. Not many months after his return, Isaac went out with some other Frenchmen to try to make a peace treaty with some tribes. On the way back, he was captured by members of the Mohawk clan, who did not want peace. There was no long torture this time. The end came quickly. Isaac was kept in one of the tribe's lodges, and one night he was invited to a feast. As he entered the hut, he was struck in the head with a hatchet. The attacker put Isaac's head on a stake in the village and threw his body into the river. What Father Isaac Jogues did was courageous, but he had a special kind of courage. He wasn't brave because he wanted to show off or have great adventures. He was brave because he knew that those people deserved to hear the good news of Jesus. It was God's love that gave Father Isaac the courage to help people who had hurt him before. It takes courage to follow Jesus. It takes courage to do the right thing. But when you think about how your words and deeds can help other people, God's love will take over and make you strong enough to follow him. St. Isaac Jogues returned to help the people who had hurt him. Can you think of another saint who did the same thing? Why would that be a hard thing to do?